This guy is dangerous. From high kicks to flips to death-defying stunts, there's no one quite like Tony Jaa. From Ong-Bak to his strange disappearance, he is the thing of legends. But where does he rank amongst the best action stars of all time? Jaa was born in 1976 in Surin, northern Thailand. But he wasn't born Tony Jaa. His real name was Phnom Yirm. At a young age, Jaa was obsessed with Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li, watching VHS tapes and imitating their moves out in the rice fields, using trees as punching bags and leaping off his father's elephants. He began training in Muay Thai at the age of 10, and by the age of 15, he moved on to Taekwondo, gymnastics, and even Wushu. Legendary Thai stuntman and director Panna Rittikrai soon spotted his raw talent, taking him on board as part of his stunt team. But who was Panna? Well, in his own words, you've probably never heard of my movies. They are popular amongst taxi drivers and somdam vendors and security guards. Panna was making very low-budget Thai action movies before he met Tony Jaa. But when he saw Jaa, he saw potential, and he was right. Under Panna's guidance, Jaa trained rigorously in choreography, wire work, falls, flips, and did everything without the use of CGI or stunt doubles. And it was during this period that he was a body double on the Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie, doubling in for Robin Shaw. So, when you watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation, you should know that was actually Jaa flying through the air and doing those flips. In fact, as far back as 1994, he was already appearing in movies, with this low-budget Thai supernatural martial arts movie type thing called Spirited Killer.
Hey, you interested? How are you? You want some fan?
We can't let him stop us. Help them!
Now, don't be like the rest and get fooled by the marketing of this movie, because Tony Jaa's in it for about 9 minutes. But it was clear in those 9 minutes that the kid had talent.
He's good.
However, between 1994 and 2002, it was mainly just very small roles or stunt work for Jaa. And he could have been forgiven for thinking that's what the rest of his career would be. And then the year 2003 arrived, and everything changed.
Tony Jaa.
Unbelievable!
Ong-Bak hit the cinemas in Asia, and this was a seismic change in the life of Tony Jaa, but also in the martial arts movie world. The movie came from nowhere, mixing incredible martial arts and stunts and aerobatics that had never been seen before in movies, and most of it choreographed by Panna. He was doing things that you would normally see with wire work and CGI, but doing them without wire work and CGI. He had the swag of Bruce Lee and the agility of Jackie Chan. The world was witnessing the birth of a new martial arts megastar. But beyond that, something they'd never seen before. Now, Jackie Chan was balletic, graceful, and daring, but even he wasn't doing some of these stunts. Stunts that looked like CGI or wire work.
Video cassette, and he put it on, and it was basically this rather nondescript young Thai fellow doing these incredible moves, evidently without wire, because it was shot on video, on these stuntmen in like a warehouse. And it was, I mean, just jumping ahead in the story, it was all the stunts that you were going to see in Ong-Bak, but just done raw in a warehouse space. So I was like, wow.
Ong-Bak was a monumental hit in Asia and across the world. Made for just $1.1 million, it made over $20 million worldwide. And most importantly, it introduced Muay Thai to mainstream cinema in a way that no movie had done ever before, making Tony Jaa an instant global icon, suddenly in demand for interviews, fight demos, and collaborations around the world. And his follow-up, The Protector, raised the game even further. bigger budgets, bigger stunts, bigger locations, bigger box office. Everything was bigger. This now famous 4-minute unbroken sequence where Jar works his way through stairways and various nondescript henchmen is cinematic gold. Panna's influence on this movie cannot be ignored. He once again designed the film's bone-crunching fight sequences, including this infamous bone-breaking gauntlet and the 4-minute single-take stairway fight. He and Jar were like kids in a candy store with both of these movies. All the years of their low-budget movies together, honing their craft and thinking of fresh, new and innovative ideas were now paying out in real time with real money, and the results were mind-blowing. The release of this movie solidified Jar as the biggest martial arts star in the world in 2005. Now, not by numbers necessarily, but certainly by excitement amongst bona fide action martial arts fans, and left them wondering, what is next? Well, logically, from here, as an action star from Thailand, who was now crossing the international borders, with the level of recognition he was getting, the natural step would have been Hollywood. The Thai film market just isn't like the Chinese market. The Chinese market is $1 billion industry. The Thai market was small, so Hollywood should have been where Jar landed next. A nice crossover hit by an American studio, much like Jet Li and Jackie Chan did around about the same time. And maybe, had he done that, Tony Jaa might have actually gone on to be the biggest action star in the world, numbers-wise. However, this is where the story takes a turn. Because Jaa was signed exclusively to Siamongkol Film International, Thailand's biggest film studio, which also produced Ong-Bak and The Protector. This contract meant that he couldn't work freely with Hollywood or other foreign studios without the studio's permission. So those Hollywood offers were futile. Rumors are that he had offers to be in Rush Hour 3 in a cameo, Fast and Furious 4, and other movies, but legally he just couldn't accept. So instead, he decided to make an Ong-Bak sequel, of which he would direct, produce, and star in. However, this decision might have been the worst decision that Jaa has made in his career so far. An epic set in 15th century Siam, the movie that had huge sets, hundreds of extras, and elaborate costumes soon ran into budget problems, production delays, and rumors of on-set tension. It seemed like the pressure was getting too much for Jaa, who actually disappeared from set for 2 months due to the stress of doing too many things at once, acting, directing, and producing. And this left Panna Rittikrai to jump in and finish it. But by then, the movie had already grown beyond where it had intended to be at the beginning. So much so that they had to break it into 2 separate movies. Ong-Bak 2, which released in late 2008, and Ong-Bak 3, which was released in 2010. Now, whilst these movies were praised for the ambition of the story and the stunts, their box offices were very poor. Now working with a collective budget of nearly $13 million, collectively, the movies made roughly $11 million. Now, on this channel, I've discussed this before. Martial arts movies actually never really make huge amounts of money at the box office. Even The Raid 2, which I'm sure if you're watching this video, then you love The Raid 2, made just $6.5 million worldwide on a $4.5 million budget. Now, if you count for marketing costs, that probably means the movie made a loss. So the pathway to success with martial arts movies like Ong-Bak did, for example, is a very low budget and a relatively high box office return. Now, in 2010, with both movies released, Jaa, broken from the stress of making these movies under contract in Thailand and with plenty of Hollywood offers turned down, it was time for Jaa to get back on the horse and show the world what he could do next. Right? Wrong. In 2010, Jaa essentially did a Dave Chappelle and bounced.
Guess you said, I don't want your show anymore, and you took a hike.
Listen, here it is. Technically, I never quit. I'm 7 years late for work.
Tony Jaa announced he was leaving the film industry to become a Buddhist monk. He entered a monastery, shaving his head, and lived as a monk for a year. Everyone thought he was done and dusted with the movie business. Was this the end? Meanwhile, Panna had already choreographed and produced Chocolate, a wonderful martial arts movie starring rising star Jija Yenin. It performed well, getting purchased by a company on screen whose name I shall not mention, and was released internationally to massive praise. And he continued to work in the film industry, consulting on pre-production on the film Kick, a Thai-Korean co-production. But meanwhile, Jar was still missing in action. No movie for about 3 years, and fans were wondering if he'd ever return. He eventually did, with The Protector 2 in 2013, which was met with critical and financial failure. The film leaned heavily on CGI, wire work, and 3D effects, which clashed with Jar's real stunts image. The movie wasn't the comeback that everyone was hoping for, but it did mark the ending of his contract and relationship with the Thai studio Sahamongkul, meaning that he could finally do a Hollywood project. And that project was Furious 7, part of the Fast and Furious series. The film went on to be the highest grossing movie of the franchise so far, and also saw the sad passing of the franchise star, Paul Walker.
You'll always be with me.
But a year prior to the movie's release in 2014 saw the passing of someone very close to Jar. In 2014, Panna Rittikrai was hospitalized in Bangkok with liver disease and acute kidney failure. And soon after this, he sadly passed away. The man that many in the martial arts world, including Jar himself, credit as the reason Thai action movies broke into the global market at all. And most importantly, he was a massive part of Jar's life. Panna sadly didn't get to see Tony Jaa's big Hollywood debut, and the movie that most likely will be the biggest box office hit of his career. But it was around for what honestly is probably Tony Jaa's peak, and that was The Protector back in 2005, because it's been rather up and down for Jar since Furious 7. Starring in SPL 2, a Chinese martial arts movie, which did well and has some great sequences, before returning back to Vin Diesel for XXX Return of Xander Cage. Triple Threat, which starred a bunch of martial arts stars, including 2 from this series so far, Michael J. White and Scott Adkins, and in the terrible movies that are Monster Hunter and Expendables or Expendables 4 or whatever it's called.
We're still learning English. It's the language you speak. How dumb are you?
So movie-wise, it's been a rough time for Tony Jaa. But on a more positive note, he seems happy, he's a family man, and he is set to star and co-produce a high-concept time-traveling martial art multi trilogy, which might be interesting. However, Jaa is the burning light which seems to have burned brightest 20 years ago and left such a huge legacy on the industry and in the hearts of fans that he will always be a legend to. And at just 49, he still has time to burn even brighter. Jackie Chan was 47 when he did Rush Hour 2 and 53 when he did Rush Hour 3. But even if he doesn't, we still have amazing moments like this to cherish. Right, let's do the ratings. For skills, this is straight out the gates a 10. So far in this series, no one has been as unique and as amazing as Jai is. He's truly incredible. When it comes to movies, we have the same problem that Michael J. White and Scott Adkins had, a lack of substantial amount of really great movies. But Ong-Bak and The Protector are forever classics. And he did appear in Furious 7, the highest grossing of the franchise. And all 3 are very impressive on the resume, so I'm going to give him a 9 here. For screen presence, like I said earlier, he had the swagger of Bruce Lee at his peak. This didn't continue throughout his career, but during those important years, he was unmatched. I'm going to give him a 9 here, which might be kind based on his whole career, because he hasn't quite hit the same heights since. But much like Van Damme, who we spoke about in this series so far, nothing can erase what he did previously. For versatility, he won't be scoring high here, But it is worth mentioning that he has starred in comedies in Chinese movies, and he's also played villains and heroes on equal footing. But out of all the action stars that we'll have in this series, his acting certainly won't be near the top. For this, I'm going to be kind again and give him a 7. And finally, for legacy, well, again, those first 2 movies were unlike anything anyone has ever seen before. And with legacy, I am always reminded of Bruce Lee, who really only had one true movie to his name. But his legacy is still huge. Same for Tony Jaa. Iko Uwais, the star of the Raid movies, has openly cited Ong-Bak as a major influence, especially in mixing cultural martial arts. So I'm going to give him a 9 here. And that gives him a score of 44, meaning that we have a new leader at the top of the chart, and his name is Tony Jaa. So that's been the life and times of Tony Jaa. Such a shame that he was under contract and couldn't freely do movies across the globe, because had he done so, he may have had more incredible moments and movies. However, it's not really worked out for Iko Uwais so far, so maybe in a way it's not a major loss. But anyway, what do you guys think? What score would you give him? Let me know in the comments. Do you think he should be number 1 ahead of Michael J. White and also Scott Adkins? And honestly, the reason I did Tony Jaa this week is because you guys really gave me loads of feedback in the last video. You typed in the word Jaa into the comments, and there were so many of you that did that, so thank you so very much. Honestly, this channel and these videos are fueled by your guys' amazing responses to the videos, so thank you. Keep it coming. There's going to be a new video coming next week, and until then, big love.
One of the very best to ever do it, Mr. Tony Jaa.